Indo-Indians International Women's Day 2021. Today is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. And we are very excited and grateful to our amazing speakers who will be sharing inspiring little stories, little opinions about the impact of women leadership and solutions to everyday sexism and inequality. We would also like to take this opportunity to announce the Indo-Indians Extraordinary Women Awards in recognition of the Women's Day today. We are inviting nominations to women in Indonesia, Indo-Indian women in Indonesia to this award. We believe that every woman is of worth and substance. And the awards program is a uniquely powerful celebration of women, the outliers in various fields who have made an extraordinary contribution to the improvement of the quality of life in our community. So nominations are open on Indoindians.com. Just log in there and you can start. So I'd like to start this off by introducing our ambassador, His Excellency Manoj Kumar Bharti. He's the ambassador of India to Indonesia.
Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Thank you very much for inviting me here to this panel. And also, to say thank you for organizing this event, because this is, in my opinion, this is a very important step to register our views and raise our concerns regarding the problem that women face at the workplace. And this goes without saying that it is very strongly dependent on the education that a male member has received at his early stages in life and the kind of environment one has been raised. And that is why my first point here is that if we want this menace to come down in future, the first and foremost responsibility lies in our being parents. When we have children and we discriminate between a girl child and a boy child within the home environments, the seeds of problems are sown there. And in my opinion, the first responsibility of this lies not at the CEO of the company or at some boss who has been creating trouble, but at each and every one of us in the family. I believe that inherently, because the way society has been framed up, we have been wired in such a way that knowingly or unknowingly, we are giving signals to the male child that you are different from a female child or a female person in terms of equality of duties, responsibilities, way to think of human behavior, and the way one should interact with each other. In my view, we play a very strong role in dealing with the issue of discrimination between a male colleague and a female colleague. The second point that I want to highlight here is that I have noticed the kind of topics that have been given to all the panel members. I see that some of you have also got the topics which I have just mentioned. Um, in some way, it will come back to this issue. But I am very happy that people have taken the issue of um, anxiety and challenge that women face at the workplace. And on this International Women's Day, I will strongly encourage all our panelists to be as realistic as possible, because if we go stray away from the main concern of discrimination, we will not be serving the purpose for which we are here today. I do not think I need to comment anything away from this, but somehow this feeling is very strong in me and I want to express it here. Uh, and that is, generally when we work with a female colleague, we tend to discriminate between a female colleague who is working under us and a female colleague who is heading us. And in my view, that itself shows that the feeling is not balanced in the way as to how we deal with our female colleagues. I have noticed in my own career that we tend to uh, deal with our female bosses in a much more different fashion than our male bosses. And I have felt everywhere that my male colleagues with whom we have interacted on such subjects, they have always indicated some kind of a discriminatory approach in how to deal with a female boss. I will end my comments here because I think I'm here to listen to other people more than express my views endlessly. Thank you very much once again for inviting me here, and I wish all of you a very successful session today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your thoughts and your opinion. I appreciate those tremendously. Thank you. Following up, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers, starting straight away with Julia. Julia Surya Kusuma is author and columnist. She has also been referred to as Indonesia's most provocative columnist. She contributes regularly to the Jakarta Post, the main English newspaper in Indonesia, as well as to other national and international publications. She is also an Indian at heart. Welcome, Julia, to this event.
Thank you. You said you were going to say the topic of...
Oh, yes, of course. Forgive me. Yes, the topic that Julia will be talking on is Tales Our Mothers Told Us, the stories we tell, the language and tone we use, the narrative we create that has more impact than we know. What happens when those stories are myopic? So, Julia, over to you.
Our mothers have three major roles in our lives. The first and most important, obviously, is to give birth to us, a creative and painful act they endure in order to gift us with our physical existence in this world. The second is to reward and at times punish and at times to abuse us, whether it's done consciously or as a projection of some deep-seated pain, resentment, or trauma. The third is to tell us stories to alert us of life's joys and pitfalls, whether true or false. Many of the stories at their base are biographical. My mother was a great and entrancing storyteller. I loved and was captivated by her stories. Some inspired me to embrace pluralism, diversity, and tolerance, like the story about the Papuan son her grand aunt married to an Adventist priest adopted. He became like a brother to her, my mother, that is. Imagine a curly-haired Papuan boy in Bandung in the early 1940s. Or the story about her uncle, a member of the Ahmadiyya sect, who angrily threatened to kill her father with a machete if he didn't convert and become an Ahmadi. My grandfather calmly said, "No religion condones killing your own brother," which made his brother tremble and put his machete down. Talk about cool nerves. Or the story of how, as an infant, she and her family had to evacuate their house in Bandung and live in a remote village to escape the invading Japanese who slaughtered city dwellers. And of course, her countless stories about her life as a diplomat's wife, living in 6 different Asian and European countries. Now aged 88, the story of her own life was to end in tragedy. Trapped by her husband, my father, who treated her like a trophy wife and who used and abused her according to his needs, she found hope in plans for revenge while not wanting to give up the status and benefits of being a wife, specifically a diplomat's wife. That conflict of rage and opportunism made her hang on. Her resentment and anger festered into a lifelong plot for revenge. How did she resolve this problem? By playing a proxy war like the one between the US and the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. In this case, I was the proxy for my father, and my brother was a proxy for her. So what I thought was discrimination was not really. She loved me as much as she loved my brother. She only meted out her emotional violence and cruelty to me when she saw me as a proxy for my father, who she did not dare to confront directly. In a way, it wasn't personal. It was a weapon of the weak. My mother was my role model in reverse. I learned from that complexity. From a very young age, I vowed that I would not be like her. So here I am now, celebrating International Women's Day, which sadly she herself was never able to enjoy or even understand the meaning of. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. That's wonderful. I think that's such so many stories in such a short period of time. I think one would need to sit with you to learn the stories in detail. Yeah, so that's very, very nice sharing. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mr. Prashant Thaplial. He's the Vice President Director of Bank India, Indonesia. He has over 25 years in the banking industry with experience in rural, semi-rural, and city banking. So he has seen them all and he's worked with a whole range of people. So he will be talking on International Women's Day from a man's perspective. Gender equality is not just a female issue, it's a social and economic imperative. Prashant, over to you. Prashant, you're still on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, just a second. Am I audible now? It's okay?
Yes, Prashant, you are.
Okay, so good afternoon, His Excellency, and good afternoon, all the panelists. Selamat siang. To start with, I mean, speaking on International Women's Day is itself a difficult topic. And when it comes to the perspective part of it, because my topic, the word perspective is there from the men's perspective. So when it comes to the perspective part of it, it becomes all the more tricky. So here, what happens is that the sole responsibility of what I speak lies on me then, because it is my perspective, naturally. So to start with, at least we realize that International Women's Day or Women's Day has to be celebrated, and we realize rightly so, because for centuries together in most of the societies, the women folk have not, I'll not say they are treated worse or bad or whatever, but they have not got a level playing field, I'll say, from the very start. And by and large, it has been a male dominance. The world has been dominated. But again, at the same time, I feel that women have made their mark in almost all the spheres of life, whether you take it politics, whether you take business, social work, finance, judiciary, the forces, whatever you take, they have made a mark, and there are many women who have made a mark in all these fields. Many names crop up to mind when you see whether it is politics. If you see, I mean, in US we have women vice presidents, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris now. In UK, for centuries together, the Queen has been ruling. Margaret Thatcher, Theresa May was there, Angela Merkel, Indira Gandhi. Closer home, we have Ibu Megawati, Ibu Retno, Ibu Mulyani, the finance minister. In India, we have Indira Gandhi. So there are women in Bangladesh for the last 20 years. Women have been ruling the country. So there are lot many women who have made a mark in almost all the fields, who have influenced the society, who have been at the helm of the affairs. Again, I don't remember any field where women don't have to compete with men to come up, except for sports. In sports, you have got separate segment for women and men. But any other field you take, whether it is business, whether it is finance, whether it is politics, they are competing with men, and they are coming up solely on the basis of their own merits. And women have done what used to be thought as a men's world, you can say, or a men's forte. Like for example, in the astronaut field also, Sunita Williams is there. Whether you have to climb the mountains, Bachendri Pal has climbed Everest. If you go for, I was reading a story, documentary I was looking, where in 1980s, a all female crew participated in around the world race with yachts in the sea, and they participated there along with the men. That was the first time. Then recently we have a case where the women, all female crew, they flew directly from San Francisco to India through the North Pole. So women, I mean, if we see, women have been controlling the air, the land, and the sea. They have shown that they are capable and they can control all these things. Even if I take my case, I have been brought up by my mother and my grandmother, and I have been surrounded by women. My aunts, my grandmother, because most of the men were out for work. And I have seen that my grandmother, my mother, my aunts, they were women of steely determination. Mentally, I think they are much more tough than anybody else. That is my conviction. So lastly, I'll say, uh, we feel the need to celebrate the Women's Day. I mean, generally, if you see in all the countries I have seen, generally, if you see, there is a Ministry of Women and Child Development. In most of the countries, you'll find. And wherever women have been at the helm of the affairs, still in those societies also, and despite being a separate department and a separate ministry in most of the countries, the change has been slow. I believe the change has been slow. It has not been very fast, or it has not been to the expected level. So I feel the answer, I feel, lies within here. Women do not need anybody's sympathy. They do not need anybody's support, least of all men's support. They don't need that. They have to challenge themselves. They have to set their goals. They don't have to wait for opportunities. They have to snatch the opportunities. And don't wait for a level playing field. Snatch the level playing field for yourself. Last but not least, I'll say women will have to be more united. They'll have to be in solidarity to overcome all the challenges together. And I think we should look forward to a day when we can say all days are equal. So I'll end with the proverb, the past president of ex-president of America said, Barack Obama said that together the women can and together they will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prashant. That was very nice. Yes, we have to seize the day and level the playing field, or seize the playing field altogether. Thank you so much for your thoughts. And I think the Extraordinary Women's Awards will be yet another opportunity to recognize and empower women to do that.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is Ibu Preeta Kamalgani. She is the CEO and founder of LSPR Communications and Business Institute.
Hello, thank you, Pudam.
Yes, I'd just like to share a little bit more about you, Ibu Preeta. Ibu Preeta is known as a progressive entrepreneur and has won many awards. She is also the president of the ASEAN Public Relations Network and a chair of Asia Pacific Regional Council for Global Alliance. Her topic is Tales Our Mothers Told Us, and the stories we tell, the language and tone we use, the narratives we create that have more impact than we know. What happens sometimes in those stories may be myopic. So Ibu Preeta, over to you.
Thank you, Bunam, and happy International Women Days. Yes, like Julia, my mom is my hero, my hero. She's a very strong woman. She became a single parent in the age of 29 years old when my father died. She's pregnant 7 months and with 4 children. So it's not an easy life. And my mother always told me that actually to be a strong woman, we should be able to take good care of our brothers, because people was always saying a man should protect a woman, but woman also can take care of man. That is also the same important, and also there's an equality on that. And my mom always telling me, in order to inspire that to become, people who have a good life, it is nice to become somebody compared to become nobody. So we have to work hard, we have to study hard, because there's nothing come from heavens. If you do nothing, you will get nothing. This is things that we always hear from people. She's also advising me that very important to do ethics in business. When sometimes things looks too good to be true, it's probably it is. So always be careful in business. And there's a lot of tempting and challenging to do a lot of things easily. And also the last thing that she always telling me, to do good is never wasted. Although we will never be appreciated of what we're doing good, but we will experience good things, and then there's always a reward for being doing good thing, at least for ourselves, if we are not being appreciated. So this is to avoid a disappointment, or being revenge or something in the heart. And the last that she's always telling me, that this is very important, that I also share with my student and my children. Attitude is as much as important as knowledge and skill. To become a person to be liked by many people, or being a likable person, it is more important compared to knowledge and skill that we have. Although also skill and knowledge is also important, because at the end of the day, people will choose the people they like. So it is very important to become a person's being liked by many other people. This is kind of thing that my mom's always telling me when I was very little. When my father died, I watched her, how she raised me and my sibling and sent us to good school in order for us to have a good life. So that is all. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ibu Preeta. That was, being likable. People do business with people who they like, and people like to, do things, new things, try new things with people they like. So indeed, it is very important to be likable. Thank you, Ibu Preeta, for sharing.
Thank you, Poonam.
Our next speaker is somebody who needs no introduction, Ranjana Singh. Ranjana Singh says she's a true Indo-Indian with over 30 years in Indonesia and feels lucky to have two countries she calls home. Ranjana currently serves as the WPP chairperson for Indonesia and Vietnam. She sits on the advisory board for the Asia Pacific Media Forum and the McKinsey Young Leaders Indonesia Initiative. Hi, Ranjana, welcome. She will be speaking on if I could tell just one thing, notes to my younger self, the challenges of working in an environment where you don't fit in, the challenges, the resources, and what you wish you had known before you started. Ranjana, over to you.
Hi, Poonam. Thank you for the very kind introduction. First of all, I'd like to say I wish every day was Women's Day, and we just didn't do it one day in a year, somewhat to what your son said to you yesterday. Yeah, and if we have a Women's Day, then should we celebrate just one day for men, or do they get the other 364 days? But that's just my point of view. Things I would say to my younger self, I'm not sure that I would say them, but I would remind myself, because I think I have, when you gave me the topic, I thought about what helped me as I was growing up and moving ahead in life. So the first thing I'd say to all women, and equally to men, I say to my son as much as my daughter, is learn to value yourself. If you don't value yourself, no one else will. So, and that's something I wish I did more. You just think, oh, that's so kind of someone. No, it's because you were good at what you were doing. The second thing I would say, especially to women, given how they're brought up, etc., is dream big. Don't let anyone tell you, you can't do this, you can't be this, you can't study that. Dream big and then aim for the stars. You may not always get them, but you will get somewhere bigger than where you had thought you'd be. There is no perfect. That's something I tell my children. Don't aim to be a perfect mother, a perfect daughter, a perfect wife, perfect everything. Do your best and then make peace with it. But don't try and be perfect at any one thing only. Most importantly, and this I wish I had told myself more as I was growing up, is drop the guilt. We women live constantly under guilt. Did we do enough of this? Could we have worked harder? Could we have spent more time with our children or our parents or been better wives? Just drop it, because I don't think that helps us in any way. We are always trying to overcome the guilt and stop enjoying the life we should be and appreciating and valuing what we do. Raise your hand, whatever you call it. Raise your hand, raise your voice, have a point of view, ask for something. If you don't ask for something, you will not get it. And without meaning to sound sexist, I have seen men generally tend to be better at asking for things, whereas women, it's probably because of the upbringing, feel that it's not quite right to do that. So I would really say speak out, have your voice heard, and then ask for what you think you should get. One thing that has personally helped me a lot, and I recommend that to everyone, is build a very strong community of friends. Invest in them. You know, life sort of catches you in and pushes you around, but you must find time to invest in friends. When I say friends, it includes family, it includes any well-wishers around you. Invest in your friends, find time to celebrate with them, and they will always be there for whenever you need it. And we all go through ups and downs.
Have we lost her?
I think that was really wonderful. I think everything that Ranjana said was really spot on, all about dreaming big, and doing the best you can, stepping up and asking for whatever you need to do. I think that was, all of them were incredibly valuable lessons. And I'm so grateful to Ranjana for sharing these thoughts to her. It seems that there's been some technical network issues on her part, so we lost her for a minute. We will talk to her again later. In the meantime, I'd like to go on to our next speaker, Sachin. Sachin Gopalan is a big supporter and a great advisor to Indo-Indians and to me. He's the founder of Kairos International Ventures. He's a startup expert, mentor, and a serial network entrepreneur with a portfolio of media education startups. He's also our partner in the Indo-Indians Extraordinary Women Awards. He will be talking about, has female leadership been more successful than males in a global crisis? We can ask what happens to organizations that are led differently. What can we learn from leadership in a crisis that we can apply to our day-to-day lives? Sachin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Poonam, and good afternoon, Ambassador, and all the eminent speakers today. I actually consider myself honored to be born in a family where women are natural leaders. Both my grandmothers brought up their children single-handedly after an early passing of their husbands. And they did this 80 years ago, in a time when gender equality was not even a common topic of discussion. To me, there's no better perfect example of leadership in a crisis than a situation like this, a family crisis, which affects each one personally. And it had great outcomes when you look at it 50 years later, and how well did everybody do? So the topic of the day, which is, has female leadership been more successful than male in a global crisis? We don't need to look far. Let's just look at the current global coronavirus crisis, the greatest example. Two names come to mind, which you would all relate to. The New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, and the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. But, from Germany to New Zealand to Denmark to Taiwan, women have managed the coronavirus crisis with success. Of course, many countries with male leaders have also done well, such as Czech Republic, Greece, Australia, Vietnam, India. But few with female leaders have done badly. So why is this so? I think research shows that male and female leadership styles are, in a way, gender stereotyped, with men likely to lead in a task-oriented style, more top-down, autocratic. That tends to be more or less stereotype, if you look at it, whereas women have a participative and relational leadership style. There's also good evidence that good communication skills are important for managing a crisis. So I say this in the context of managing crises, and good communication skills are one of the reasons why women are chosen as leaders. So you could say, some people say that military crisis may need a different kind of leadership skills, but it actually has been demonstrated that most women leaders have the foresight to not even allow such situations to develop. We do have a few exceptions here and there, of course, right? But the lesson in all of this, which I want to highlight on International Women's Day, that depending on the situation we are facing, there's a role for both genders in this world. And it's largely based on the situation, the skills, personal qualities, abilities that may be required to handle certain types of situations. Global pandemic, crisis, etc., women have done well because they know they have the empathy, they're able to communicate with people, they're able to listen to everybody's ideas, because this is something no generation has faced. I would say if you faced a crisis like this 100 years ago, there's nobody who's bringing that foresight into what's happening today. So it's something new for everyone to handle. So the discussion should always be about gender equality, and it's not about one being better than the other. And we can understand the differences and give it equal importance in our lives. That would be a great way to go forward, because I think this harmony between the two genders and the roles that they interplay in all our lives has been equally important to everyone. So just to end that whole thing about in a global crisis situation, we are seeing it playing out not just with these big leaders, but the same thing is happening in the hospitals. If you look at the emergency rooms, you look at the doctors treating, it's a story that is consistent across the way. And in times of crisis, the response to what needs to be done comes across in different ways. And I think women have done very well there. So thank you, Poonam.
Thank you, Sachin. That was a very nice way to put it, that in times of crisis, People with better communication skill, with a better interpersonal connect, may be able to do better. And women are very suited to that role because they deal with crisis in one way or the other almost every day. Thank you. Our next speaker is Shanti. Shanti Shamdasani is president of the ASEAN International Advocacy and Consultancy Private Limited and founder of Shanaika Med Consult. She is known for her in-depth expertise on ASEAN matters with focus on international trade and political analysis. She is currently pursuing her doctorate of law degree from University Pelita Harapan in Indonesia. What she's be talking on is how we will help forge a gender equal world. Shanti, over to you.
Thank you for that, Poonam, His Excellency Ambassador of India, distinguished speakers, very obliged and lucky here to be speaking today on this very important topic about women equality. It's sort of like just gives me a bit of a kind of like doubt when people talk about women equality today, because compared to 20, 30 years ago, I think today things are much more equal in the outer perspective, I'm talking. But when you actually dig deeper, then you can see some of the skeletons still coming out. I mean, I have friends who are very successful directors of big companies, and yet they sometimes complain about inequality in their home situation. Let me start with my background. I'm actually quite fortunate because I was born with a very strong mother. I think my family was very conservative. I mean, in my family, after high school means marriage. And I've totally proven them actually wrong in the sense that after high school, I've gotten scholarship and, I've recently also finished my Harvard education and continue to learn. I think from what we can see is that if you have a strong supporter, I think it was Ranjana who mentioned, kind of like surround yourself with people who support you. Surround yourself with people who are cognizant of your dreams. And there was one woman in my life, aside against all odds that I had to face, between my brothers and the male figure. There was one woman in my life who stood behind me and said, "Let her do what she wants to do." And she was my rock, and she opened the way for me, and I never looked back since that day. I think it is also very important for women, and I'm about to say this, it might come to a little bit of a controversial or maybe a shock to someone, but this is what I have found. Aside from all these values and morals and the support that you have, a woman who have the support or the good fortune or who manage to earn more than a man naturally seems to gain command. I mean, I hate to say it, but money plays a big role, right? And because that's exactly what happened to me. At one point, I mean, fortunately, I was the highest earning person in the family. And everybody's behavior towards me sort of like changed. I mean, for some of you who don't know me, I was born and brought up in Indonesia, in Sulawesi. We moved to Jakarta, and probably I'm one of the first very few Indian women who ran away from home when she was 21, just because she had a different dream, right? And it's not in the context of encouraging other women to do that, but it's in the context of really showing how you need to stand up for what you believe, even it means taking a very bold steps, right? So I think what we fear today, despite of all the really big progress that we have seen taking place, women needs to also embark more than just a job. A job will pay them a certain amount of salary, and there are inequalities still in the market between men and women. But I think what they need to look into is how do they pay themselves, and really look beyond jobs, look into becoming an entrepreneur. I've established, from one business now I have three businesses today. And the last business, Poonam, I think you know, is Shanaika Med Consult, which is a second opinion consultation. And we have signed MOU with 140 hospitals worldwide. And we are actually now sending one of the liver patient, an Australian citizen, to Apollo Hospital in Delhi for an immediate liver transplant. So this is what I think I need to, the message that I want to give without taking further time is that, yes, you need someone that backs you up. And in any case, if you don't have anyone that backs you up, you have to be your own rock. Take that bold steps. What can happen? What is the worst that can happen, actually? You know, I mean, if you're a good person, good things will happen. So I think the bold move and the bold steps is what I see still lacking here. And a lot of women is depending on this sympathy. People need to help me. People need to sympathize with me. Nobody needs to help you. Nobody needs to sympathize with you. Everything you need is inside of you. Just go grab it. I think that's what I want to end it with. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shanti. I hear you, and I think you've made some very valid points all about financial independence. And as Ranjana also said, dreaming big and being bold enough to follow your dreams. I think those are all incredible life lessons as well. Thank you for sharing. And now going on, we have our next speaker, Sari Kusuman Ingram. Hello, Sari, how are you? Sari is the President Director of PT Juvita Bersinar, Indonesia. She has as many feathers in her cap as her interests. She's actively involved with Cardin, Indonesia Fashion Week, media advisor at Indonesia Jordan and Indonesia Tanzania Business Council. She's also founder of the Jakarta Business and Diplomatic Circle. Sari will be speaking on If I Could Tell You Just One Thing, notes to her younger self, the challenges of working in an environment where you don't fit in, the challenges, the resources, and what you wish you had known before you started. Sari, over to you.
Thank you, Poonam, for the good introduction. Good afternoon, Excellencies. And hi, everyone. So thank you. So actually today, I just want to talk a little bit about what I wish I had known when I was younger. So it is all about intuition and, trust your faith. Because every time when I was younger, my mother always say, just follow your gut feelings. I don't know what was it, until one day, before my mother passed away, she kept telling me, just follow your inner feelings. Just follow your guts. I still don't know until one day when I was on the way to Japan at the time, I met a lady, Chinese lady, who actually happened to actually teach a lot of people in Japan for meditation. So I asked myself after my mom passed, I told her, what should I do, just to follow my intuition? Because according to her, that meditation is basically stay relaxed, doing nothing, just enjoying the moment and awareness of my breathing. So why it is important in the intuition for women is basically intuition is actually tell us what we need to know, and also steer us toward the fact finding and reasoning. That's why, looking back in my background, I actually studied biology and chemist, and then after that, I didn't go to medical school because I was failed entering Faculty of Indonesia Medical School, and then I studied the hotel management school, and I never worked in the hotel. And then after that, I worked in the cosmetic company at the time. And then finally, I actually just follow my path and work in the media industry for the past 15 years. So I think that my mother was actually right about following my intuition, but I didn't know how. So I started to do my meditations since 6 years ago. And then I realized that by doing meditation, I always find the answer. And also, I always find the inner wisdom. And then maybe these days, yes, it's good. I really agree with Ranjana, follow your dream, dream big. But also the one thing that is very important for women is to understand that um, being quiet is actually sometimes it's good to discover what we basically good at. um, and also for me, by doing the meditation and also follow the gut feelings, and I will trust my faith, because to me, um, faith is actually a place of a mystery, where I can find the courage to believe in what we cannot see, and then the strength to let go out of our fear of uncertainty, because in life we don't know what is going to happen in 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
And now I started to understand more about the spiritual part, and I was really thankful to my mom, who always teach me how to follow my gut feeling and listen to my inner voice. So since 6 years ago, my mother used to be my mentor and my life coach. So now I'm actually all by myself, and I realized that I become very I become a woman who basically follow all the flow. And then I remember Pak Sachin used to be my boss at the time. I remember one day Pak Sachin said, "I think, Sari, it's time for you to become the editor-in-chief of this magazine." So the magazine that I used to work with Pak Sachin is one of the men's magazine in Indonesia. And then at the time I realized, oh my goodness, Pak Sachin, I don't understand whiskey. I don't know watches. I don't drive a fast car. And then Pak Sachin only say, don't worry. In 3 months, you will learn. And guess what? I'm very happy that I say yes to that challenges, because I just follow uh, my intuition, and also by accepting the situation and follow the flow. And I really enjoy my work at the time. And I realized that I become what I am right now. So thank you, Pak Sachin, for encouraging me at the time to get that job as the editor-in-chief of the men's magazine in Indonesia. Thank you for now.
Thank you, Sari, for sharing that wonderful story. And yes, it is all about believing in yourself, listening to your gut feel, and also following it through. So I think you need courage to follow through what you think is right for yourself and to go walk beyond the fear. So this is really important. Thank you. Our next speaker is Shireen Ratnani. Shireen Ratnani is an early childhood expert and co-founder of Kiddie Planet Montessori Preschools. She has been a great support to Indo-Indians. She does a number of parenting workshops for us, and she is very generous in sharing all her knowledge she has with parents, all young parents as well as parents with older children. So Shireen will be speaking on women are equal, planting the thought early, because gender stereotypes start young. So Shireen, over to you.
Thank you, Poonam, and a great afternoon to our dear ambassador and all my fellow panelists. Thank you very much, Poonam. I think this is a fantastic initiative by Indo-Indians. And, I just want to say, a few weeks ago, I met a woman who told me, I feel completely unproductive and unsuccessful. And then I asked her why. And she said, I'm just a homemaker. I'm just a mother, and that doesn't spell success. And the next day, I met a very young lady who told me, I find it very hard to challenge my husband's views, despite the fact that he is wrong. And when I asked her why, she said, I don't know. I'm just scared, and I don't dare to. And then again, this background that you see has made its way to the agenda report in one of the states in India, and it's made by a 9th grade student whose father told him, your mother does no work. She's just a housewife. And he actually depicted on this all that he saw her doing. So I was just provoked to think about where all these thought processes are planted. Why does our society think that a woman in a suit with a 9-to-5 job is more successful when being a mother or a homemaker is as difficult, if not more, than any other job in this world? So I think, changing these invisible and deep-rooted gender norms have their beginnings in the very early years of children. Boys and girls uniforms, boys schools and girls schools. What do these serve? To stop us from distractions and bubble wrap us in safe environments, only for us to come out and live in a multi-gender society and be prepared to raise boys and girls? Where's the meaning? This led me to even think about what creates these fears and stereotypes that make so many women feel like the lesser gender and advocates men to think of the same. By the age of 3, children grasp fundamental norms about gender, consciously or unconsciously. Parents, educators, and the broader macro system around a child just coax children into these restricted set of choices based on their gender. So for example, boys are encouraged to independently take risks and to get into more adventurous stuff. And girls are very quietly praised for their obedience, their politeness, their neatness, and their prim and proper behavior. And this plethora of identity shaping roles is actually what depreciates the value of women in our society. So yes, changing these deep-rooted gender norms is not easy, but it's imperative. Gender equality really benefits us all as a society, but there's very little gender difference in baby brains. So today, I choose to challenge you to change your perception and plant the seeds of equality. So when they grow up, children are not gender detectives who are excluding and shaming behavior, but they are people who treat both genders with equality for the better of our mankind. We create cultures and traditions, so we should be the ones to change them. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. I think that's a very valid point. We create these stereotypes, and it is each one of our responsibility to make sure that we correct this gender stereotype. Thank you. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, we have Umesh Phatge. He's the President Director of L'Oreal Indonesia, with 24 years experience in managing businesses across Asia. He's also known as a trainer on leadership, coaching, and change management, in addition to co-marketing and sales skills. He will be speaking on International Women's Day from a man's perspective, why gender equality is not just a female issue, it's a social and economic imperative. Umesh, over to you.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you very much for being invited for this event. Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, and all the other speakers. It's always very difficult to be the last. And if I knew right at the beginning that I would be the last, I would have probably not accepted this speaking engagement. Not because L'Oreal is the #1 beauty care company in the world, but it's kind of difficult to top all the speeches that have been made. I could make a smart comment like, saying what Ranjana said. At L'Oreal, 365 days are women's days because we are dealing with women consumers all year long. Or I could, point out to what Poonam said in the beginning about women being at worth. And for over 40 years, the selling line of L'Oreal Paris all over the world has been because you're worth it. So we've been a supporter of women's rights, women's equality for a long time. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about myself. All the stuff that has been spoken about earlier about women being behind, the door or being secondary to men or something like that is something that I never felt because, like many of you, I was raised by an alpha mother, a woman who, as a single person from a very middle-class family, went to Bahrain, which was possibly unknown as a country over the world, in 1964 to become the second lady doctor over there, and managed to build not just her private practice as a doctor, but also a family and raise me, in whatever good or bad ways she could. She raised me and my sister no differently from each other. My sister became an electrical engineer. My sister had the freedom to learn whatever she wanted to learn. And overall, I never felt the fact that there was any difference between a man or a woman or a girl or a boy in any of our house. But I know that my house is not, my house was never the representative of the rest of the world. But somehow I've been fortunate to have been exposed to a more egalitarian or more equal point of view all through my life. At one point in time, I had 4 levels of bosses above me who were all women. So between me, who was a junior manager, and the global CEO of the company, there were 4 women. And I have learned great lessons watching them, learning from them, sometimes getting scolded from them. I've been scolded by women a lot, and I don't mean only my mother, but I've learned some great lessons from them. For example, my first marketing director taught to me empathy with consumers while we were developing new products for them. She said, unless you really empathize with the woman who's in the slum or in the favela or even in the high-rise building, you will never be able to develop the best products for her. Or from my vice president of beauty care, who taught me the lesson that formed the opening of my speech to Google a few weeks ago: keep your CFO on your right and your HR director on your left, and everything in business will take care of itself. Now, this could have been something that was said by someone like Henry Ford or Lee Iacocca, but no, it was said by a woman who was the vice president of beauty care, a business unit that I was running. But most importantly, what I learned from her was empathy. And today, L'Oreal Indonesia has been recognized as a very people-friendly company. We've been recognized in various spheres of people development, of employee engagement, and stuff like that. And that has been because of the lessons that I've learned looking at her about how she used to manage the organization. I was once a part of a cleanup crew in office, part of those usual events that we do over there. And I was pulling down a box of heavy products in the storeroom. And she passes by, looks at me and says, "Be careful. I know you have a problem with your neck 2 weeks ago. This is work that you should not be doing here. Move out and do something else." These small touches will stay with me till the end of my life. So I have been very fortunate to have been surrounded by women who were not just powerful, successful, educated, empathetic, and all kinds of things, but they were also great teachers, and they've taught me a lot. But the world is not like this, and the world is not exactly the same. We are in many ways fortunate that we live in Southeast Asia, where women's education is not as much of an issue as it might be in many other parts of the world. You look at female enrollment in primary education, it's about the same as male enrollment. But as you move forward to secondary and tertiary education, female enrollment is actually higher even in countries like Indonesia and Thailand and many other countries in ASEAN compared to men. So the primary foundation of empowering women with education has been set to some extent through constant investment by the government. So what can we do as companies to do that? I think we need to make sure that we are providing equal opportunity. We are investing equally. As a company that's in beauty care, I think it becomes easier for us to do it because we are naturally more attractive to women than men. But that's not the only thing. To provide equal opportunities and raise women through the ranks of management is something that requires conscious effort and conscious focus. So I'm very proud to tell you that 8 out of 14 on my management committee are women. And I'm not sure the next time I have a choice between a man and a woman, I'm going to choose the woman over the man or vice versa. But I know that in Indonesia or in countries in ASEAN, the choice of talent available in the market as far as women are concerned is fantastic, and it's really great. But there is an issue that we just spoke about this morning, and we launched a big event around that, which is around sexual harassment. And for someone who comes from India and reads the news about India, Indonesia feels like heaven as far as sexual harassment is concerned. It says this is perfect land. There is no issue in Indonesia. Women are safe, free to move around, and that couldn't be further from the truth. 8 out of 10 women in Indonesia have claimed that they've been sexually harassed in some way or the other in a public place. 56% of women claim that this is the #1 issue that needs fixing, which is women's harassment in a public place. And I have personally met at least 6 consumers in Indonesia in the past 5 years who've told me that they started wearing the hijab because they felt that the moment they wore it, the instances of sexual harassment in public place reduced. So in response to that, we just launched with L'Oréal Paris and taking Chinta Laura Keel as the brand ambassador, a movement of standing up against sexual harassment. It involves a whole process of online training of people, making everyone aware. We are working in consultation with NGOs, with departments of the government, in order to really socialize this issue and bring it on high on the agenda of people who are aware of it, and bring into perspective programs that will help address this issue. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Umesh. I hear your business pitch loud and clear. Thank you for that. And although what I heard a lot was more about, and it is because your name is Umesh and alphabetically you come last. So it was not by design. There was a pattern to it. Yeah. So yes, I understand that there are still many issues, and I hear them in your speech also, that you have highlighted many of the issues that still exist and some things that still need to be understood and found a solution to. And, I would like to thank all my speakers for sharing. His Excellency Ambassador Manoj Bharti, and all of you, you have all provided such great insights. Some of you have provided life lessons, especially Ranjana, and I think she's not on this call at this moment, but really good life lessons. And I think what my key takeaway, hi Ranjana, welcome to see you back. Yeah, and the key takeaway from this session has been that, there is, some people say that we should just grab it, we should just seize the playing field and move ahead. And there is no gender inequality, it is all in our minds. The other key takeaway was that women should support each other. I think that is a big thing. If we support and we look after each other, there will be less of this situation. And thirdly, what I like is about dreaming big, having the courage to move forward. And these are all things that we can all collectively do together. And I thank each and every one of you for participating. Thank you so much. I would also like this opportunity to talk about the Extraordinary Women's Award, which we are launching today. And this is a platform for recognizing and acknowledging women leaders around us. So these are all unsung heroes. These are all people that we have met, we know of, and this is an opportunity for us to nominate them and bring them out so that we can all celebrate them. All these details are available on Indo-Indians.com.
2 minutes, have a seat, and then we'll start.
Yes, Ranjana, go ahead.
Poonam, before you end, let me first thank you for bringing us all together and driving this agenda, and hats off to you and Sachin and everyone else.
Thank you. Thanks, Ranjana. Ambassador Manojji, if you would like to say some closing thoughts.
Apart from thanking you and Sachin to bring me on to this panel, I made perfect use of this to know quite a lot of our panelists, because being new here, I had not met with many of you. And it was a perfect occasion to know about you and your views on a very important subject that that is around us these days. I wish all the best for this international award that you are launching, and I wish all the best to all the panelists as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to be in touch with each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.